Hello and welcome to this video tutorial on creating roof tiles in SketchUp. We will go through three methods for creating the tiles. The first method will be modeling by hand, then we will use a displacement map together with physically based textures, and finally we will use V-Ray Enmesh. We will examine each approach and discuss its advantages. As I said, let's begin with the modeling method. I have to create just one tile, which will be copied multiple times. I start by cutting out the arc shape of the tile into a plane surface. For this purpose, I am using the 2-point arc tool. Then, I offset it slightly and close the shape using the line tool. Now, I can delete everything around that shape and extrude it. This will be our tile. I will select it to make it a component and duplicate it along the Y-axis. Press the Control button to make a copy, then tap X. Write down the number of copies you want and press Enter. Select all copies and make them a component. I will duplicate, rotate it, and place it underneath the first one. Once again, I will group them into one component and duplicate them along the X-axis. Now, we have a large patch of tiles that can be placed on the roof. I will unhide the roof planes, then take the patch of tiles and rotate it. Here is how it looks together with all elements of the roof. The next step is to clean up the tiles where we have a hip or a valley. This can be done using the solid tools. Here, I have prepared a model that will be used as a cutter object. The components should be exploded for this to work. Now I select the cutter object and, using the trim tool, cut all the tiles one by one. If I temporarily hide the cutter object, you can see how the tiles we have sliced so far have been cut. Here is the final result. This method can be time-consuming, and the biggest downside is that if you want to change the size or try a different pattern, you have to redo everything from scratch. Also, if you have a large number of objects, the viewport can slow down. However, one advantage of this method is its universality, as it works with other render engines, such as Enscape. Additionally, it provides greater control over shading. When each tile is a separate object, you have more flexibility in the texturing process. Let's go ahead and select all tiles and open the asset editor, where I have prepared a simple shader and apply it to the selection. Start the renderer to see the results. In the diffuse slot, I will load this orange clay texture map. I am going to add a triplanar texture node, which can be used for randomization of the texture. First, I will increase the size to see the details better. In the randomization panel, I will enable randomization for the offset and rotation of each tile. Now I will apply a multi-sub node and use it to randomize the color and gamma of each tile. You need to set it to randomize by node name and adjust the hue, saturation, and gamma variation parameters. And finally, if you want, you can apply a curve node and adjust the value of the texture. Using these features, you have a huge control over the texture maps. Now, let's move on to the next method, which involves using a displacement map together with physically based textures. Select the roof and apply a V-Ray displacement modifier to it. When you open the asset editor, you will see a displacement modifier, where we will load the texture. These are textures that I found online. There are sites that provide free-to-use textures like polyhaven.com or ambientcg.com. I am going to switch to 2D displacement mode and increase the resolution for crisper details. I will render to see the results. I am going to slightly increase the displacement amount. Now we have to create a shader. Generate a generic material and name it Roof. I will pause the renderer for a moment to make sure the roof is selected and apply the shader to it. In the diffuse slot, load a color map. Re-render to see the results. It looks oversaturated to me. I will use a color correction node to adjust it. In the Reflection tab, set the color to white. Switch the surface control to use roughness and load a roughness map. Finally, let's load a bump map, but before that, switch the mode to normal map. When using this method, you can easily experiment with different patterns and adjust their size. The drawback is that if you don't have a high-quality texture, there can be visible artifacts. Additionally, if you apply the displacement map to curved geometry, distortions may occur. Now, let's go through the final method using the V-Ray Enmesh modifier. One of the best things about Enmesh is that it consumes less memory compared to geometry or displacement maps. All you need is a small sample of geometry. Here, I've prepared a sample. It's important for the geometry to be tileable to achieve the best results. I am going to select all roof planes. Before applying Enmesh, make sure to apply a triplanar projection if the model doesn't have suitable UV coordinates. Next, group the objects or make them a component. Otherwise, you won't be able to apply Enmesh. From the V-Ray toolbar, apply Enmesh to the selection. Select the pattern, open the asset editor, and add it to the Enmesh modifier. Render the scene to see the results. Let's make the pattern larger by modifying the tiling parameters. As you can see, the rotation of the tiles on this slope is incorrect. To fix this, double-click to edit the component, right-click on the face, and in the texture menu, select Position. Grab the green pin and rotate it 90 degrees. Right-click on the pin and select Done to apply the changes. I will re-render the scene to see the updated results. One of the biggest advantages of Enmesh is that you can easily change the pattern. Let's go ahead and do that. First, let's delete this one. Then, go to the Chaos Cosmos library. In the 3D Models category, you can find pre-made Enmesh patterns. With the roof still selected, simply import the pattern you like, and it will automatically be applied. The tiling looks good, but I will decrease the height percentage because, at the moment, the tiles look overstretched. Now, let's shade the roof. Create a new generic shader and name it Roof. Go ahead and apply it to the selection. For the diffuse slot, I will load this orange clay texture. I will reduce its tiling to see the details better. Increase the reflection by setting the color to white, then load a glossiness texture. When shading, it is important to use the reflection and glossiness maps because they will make the shader appear more realistic. Using V-Ray Enmesh, we've saved both time and memory while achieving a high-quality result. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you don't miss any of the awesome content we've planned for you. Thank you for watching and happy rendering.